good, I think, ideas. I know there's also people playing with Flapple, which also has the hustle ability.
True, yeah.
But you still get the benefit of hustle and the attack boost, just don't have the drawback, and that makes it a real big threat. I mean, looking down Andrew's team, what can this Durant do huge damage to with the potential moves it has available?
Oh, man.
Butterfree, yes, it can start hitting that really, really hard. It does have access to Rock Slide, which becomes max Rockfall. Rhyperior doesn't appreciate Steel Spike. Rockfall for Charizard. There's actually a number of ways you can deal damage to Duraludon.
Yeah, you can have max Knuckle or even max Quake, I believe. Durant has
they're both options there as well. Bronzong, actually probably the hardest one for him to take out, and Whimsicott you can hit with the Steel Spike as well.
Absolutely.
So plenty of options for Durant to deal damage, but Andrew does have the option to try and mix things up a little bit with those speed tiers and see if he can help himself out there. We'll see exactly how they decide to lead. I think that's going to be really important in this set.
Yeah, I think the speed matching with these two players is going to be one of the most important things in this match because, you know, they both do have the Trick Room and Tailwind options, and they both have some Pokemon that are capable of dealing some huge damage. We do see the Durant and the Rhyperior straight away, two of the Pokemon that are known to deal out some of the most physical damage in this format so far.
Yeah, and I mean, we're looking at it now, and it's pretty much a complete opposite. You've got the Tailwind threat of Whimsicott alongside the Durant, your big physical attacker that can deal huge amounts of damage. But on the other side of things, you are going to have the Bronzong carrying that potential Trick Room, and then a physical attacker that flourishes in those conditions.
Absolutely.
We'll see if there's a way to stop the Trick Room. It's always really important, and I'm not quite sure if the answer is going to be there for Bingjie right now. Does go ahead and Dynamax Durant right away. That's pretty essential in this matchup.
Yeah, especially because you really don't want to be missing those attacks with Hustle, and Dynamaxing is a great way to guarantee that you are going to be hitting all those attacks, but we're going to see that Dynamax matched from Andrew with this Rhyperior coming through.
Yeah, I think that's the only way to kind of counteract it as well. And then if you get the Trick Room up, you're going to be in a great position for the next couple turns. You'll use one of your Dynamax turns now, and then you can keep on going. So I think what Bingjie has on his Whimsicott is going to be important. We see an Energy Ball land on that Rhyperior. Huge amounts of damage. It does activate the weakness policy, so the attack is going to be pretty problematic for the rest of the game, as Steel Spike follows up from this Durant. Not going to get the chance to even try and deal any damage with its Dynamax. That's a huge offensive threat removed from Andrew's side of the field. The defense going up on both Whimsicott and Durant as well. But this Bronzong is going to be free to do absolutely whatever it wants.
The Bronzong will be free to do whatever it wants this turn, but losing that Rhyperior is huge on turn one.
Oh, no! Bronzong switching speed with Durant with the use of Speed Swap.
Okay.
So Bronzong now pretty fast as things go. That Bronzong's going to be going crazy, and this is really important because now the Charizard comes in and is going to be able to move first before the Durant, which it usually isn't able to do.
Bronzong is pretty fast now, but more importantly, the Durant is very, very slow, and if Bingjie opts to go for a Tailwind with his Whimsicott this turn, it almost certainly still won't be able to outspeed that Charizard, which is really huge for Andrew. You know, he did lose that Rhyperior.
Oh, no! But you hate to see it, Jake. The Dynamax Durant has been removed from play. It's such a brave move to say, I don't need this anymore. It's done its work. I mean, it's beaten the opposing kind of Pokemon in that regard. The Taunt landing on Bronzong, it can't Hypnosis this turn, which is the potential play. Heat Wave will come out from Charizard, though. Was looking to get the knockout on that Durant, but it's just going to pick up the Whimsicott on that side. No Focus Sash, interestingly enough.
Very interesting. A lot of Whimsicott usually do carry that Focus Sash item. Some opt for a Bibiri Berry, often a good check against something like Excadrill with that Iron Head. So it could be the item we see on Whimsicott on Bingjie's end. But even though you really hate to see that Dynamax switch out, Bingjie got what he needed. So he traded his own Dynamax for Andrew's essentially on turn one when he was able to hit that Energy Ball and Steel Spike. So even though now the Durant is back to its normal speed and back to its normal size, it will be able to outspeed this Charizard, which notably can't Dynamax because that Rhyperior already did. And so if it is running that Solar Beam, there's really no way for him to set up the Sun unless he does have that Whimsicott in the back, which means that this Milotic is going to be very threatening for Andrew's team.
Yeah, Bronzong leaving the field immediately, not wanting to do anything while it's taunted. May not even have a particularly good option in that regard, and Whimsicott takes the field instead. Charizard protecting does have to be concerned about this Durant, and I think Andrew really showing off a couple good ways for him to get this Charizard in a winning position. Whimsicott avoids the Rock Slide, of course. Hustle trying to boost an already slightly lowered accuracy move is going to be a bit of an ask, but Milotic's Muddy Water will land on this Whimsicott. A little bit of damage while you're there, and this could be a really quick turnaround for Andrew. You know, launch it with a Tailwind, get it going that way, and then your Charizard can do a whole lot of work.
Right, so now that Andrew does have this Whimsicott out, he does have the option to Tailwind, make sure his Charizard is faster than that Durant, and make sure Charizard won't get knocked out by that Rock Slide. He does still have the Sunny Day option, so if he does, Tailwind this turn, possibly fire off a Heat Wave, the turn after he could potentially go for a Sunny Day and use that Solar Beam into Milotic, which we've seen, Solar Power boosted, Life Orb boosted, very strong attack in Solar Beam, could do a pretty significant amount of damage to that Water-type Milotic.
No, Whimsicott Tailwinding, no switching this turn. That Durant willing to kind of gamble on it a little bit there. Charizard will Heat Wave. Connection on Durant is going to spell the end for it. A terribly low special defense stat, getting a little bit of damage there, but, going all the way through. Milotic taking a little bit, but the burn as well is going to make it a little bit easier to knock out with the residual damage. Muddy Water coming back from the Milotic, and that is going to take an easy knockout on Charizard.
Yeah. Oh, that critical hit. Might be important there. Milotic, not really known to have the highest special attack, but Charizard also not known to be the bulkiest Pokemon, so hard to say whether that critical hit mattered. The burn on Milotic, somewhat unfortunate for Bingjie, but it really just means that the leftover recovery is going to be negated by that burn. So essentially the turn Andrew needed there, the Heat Wave into Durant, certainly prevented the Charizard from being knocked out by Rock Slide, but that Muddy Water from Milotic was able to finish off Charizard anyway, so possibly a little bit too late for Andrew to kind of make a comeback here.
Yeah, I mean, here's something that's kind of interesting to look at. The offensive pressure provided by each side of the field is wildly different.
Right.
You've got a Bronzong and Whimsicott on that side, which honestly could have maybe 2, potentially 3 attacking moves between them. And then on the other side of the field, you've got a Conkeldurr, which is known for dealing huge damage.
Yeah.
And a Milotic that's able to sit there and consistently fire off attacks. So an interesting kind of predicament, I think, for Andrew to try and work his way out of. He's going to be limited on what he can attack. Conkeldurr protecting. The Fake Tears heading right into that protect as well. The Ice Beam from Milotic, though, could make this pretty much a lost cause. Whimsicott taking that very comfortably, though, as Hypnosis heading towards that Conkeldurr again. It can't go towards Milotic. It's already burned. And, yeah, it looked like there was going to be all the efforts trying to deal with this Conkeldurr.
Right, so Conkeldurr, a Pokemon that usually doesn't run Protect. Assault Vest is a pretty common item for it, but we actually do see that Flame Orb instead on Conkeldurr.
And that's really important, because now he's not going to be able to be put to sleep.
Right, no, he can't be put to sleep. A Mach Punch will most likely be able to take out this Whimsicott. It's at very low health, and that Guts boost will be very strong for the Conkeldurr. Notably, Andrew gets to learn a bit about information about Bingjie's team. He knows that the Milotic is carrying Ice Beam. Oftentimes they opt for Icy Wind instead. And we do know that Conkeldurr has Protect with that Flame Orb. So, maybe some information he can use to possibly make Game 2 go a little bit better in his direction. But looks like Bingjie will be able to clean up this first game pretty easily from here. Yeah,
Bronzong is going to launch a Body Press towards the Milotic. Interesting option on Bronzong, but a nice little adaptation to see. Not doing huge amounts of damage, though, and Bronzong against these two, probably not.
No, definitely not. Body Press is a cool move because it uses your defense stat instead of your attack stat when you're attacking with it. So if, for example, you get intimidated, you're that -1 attack, it actually doesn't matter. Body Press will be using that defense stat, which has not been lowered by Intimidate. Also notably, it is super effective against Rhyperior, and we did see that weakness policy on Andrew's Rhyperior, so it's actually a very good way to activate your own weakness policy if you do get these two in Trick Room.
Yep, the Muddy Waters coming through again from Milotic. It's just trying to wear down this Bronzong, but it's taking good damage, exchanging decent amounts. The Guts and the boost with that, making this a nice easy pickup for the Conkeldurr at the end. And Bingjie taking game 1 with some pretty bold plays, I'd say.
Yeah, I know. Bingjie played that very well. The beginning, that first turn, we often don't see Energy Ball on Milotic, so that could be a possible tech for the Rhyperiors that he noticed his team might struggle a little bit against. That also did a lot of damage. Rhyperior, known to have that Solid Rock ability, which decreases the power of super effective attacks. And even though Energy Ball is double super effective, Rhyperior does have that Rock and Ground typing. Whimsicott not really known to be a strong attacker, so possibly tells us a little bit about how that Whimsicott might be trained.
Yeah, I mean that was, I think, some really interesting information to give up. I know Whimsicott, usually it takes Moonblast.
Right.
But at the same time, if you've got that extra slot and you can get Energy Ball in there, I mean, taking out the Dynamax Pokemon, yes, it was a trade because of the Force Switch, but, it was, I think, a worthwhile trade in the pacing of the game.
Yeah. No, especially losing that Rhyperior, that was essentially one of Andrew's two ways of dealing damage. And we saw he did bring that Whimsicott and the Bronzong, neither of which are going to be threatening too much damage at once. And so if he was able to eliminate that Rhyperior, essentially make Andrew's Trick Room option moot. You know, if you're going to Trick Room with Charizard, not necessarily the best idea because Charizard is so fast. So, yeah. Pretty much limited Andrew's options immediately at the start of the game, and Andrew had a hard time coming back from that.
Yep, well, we're back into team preview. If you're in Andrew's shoes, you're kind of the one asked to make the adaptations. I think if you lose game one, you have to look at what you can do better. What do we think Andrew is thinking right now? Obviously, we saw some pretty audacious plays with Speed Swap and, you know, some shenanigans he can get up to with the Bronzong, but he's kind of revealed that now.
A little bit, yeah. The Speed Swap is actually a really cool option on this team because, you know, Bronzong is so slow, and if you're opting not to use that Trick Room, then you could essentially force something to be slow and either switch out like we saw with the Durant or just deal with its lower speed. The Rhyperior seems to be like a good bring against Bingjie's team. You just have to obviously not lose it before it attacks. So,
yeah, don't let it get doubled into.
Right, yeah. So if you're planning to bring it again, maybe find other ways to support it. You know, Butterfree is known to have that Rage Powder attack. We've, you know, possibly talked about that Max Befuddle if that's an option for Andrew there too. So, yeah, a couple of different things he could do to possibly support his team a little bit better. But you know, that Durant is actually super threatening to his team because, you know, we've seen the Rock Slide. It's capable of using that Max Rockfall. Obviously, it has that Max Steel Spike that we saw, so it throws a lot of damage onto Andrew's two main attackers.
Yeah, I mean, it causes problems. And the fact that now a lot of people have started putting the Life Orb on it, really when you play the Durant team, it's just a straight commitment to, can you get knockouts with the Durant before it gets knocked out? Yeah. And if you can with the Life Orb, a lot of players looking at it now, committing entirely to just attacking moves, no protect on the Durant. Another reason it probably switched out in the face of the Charizard.
True, yeah.
But you've got 4 moves with great coverage across the board, so you can always hit super effectively.
Yeah, I'd be hard-pressed to find something that wasn't hit at least neutrally by one of Durant's attacks. Its coverage is extremely wide, like you did just say. So, yeah, Durant looking to make another impact here. We do see that Whimsicott Durant lead from Bingjie again, but Andrew switching it up this time with that Butterfree and Whimsicott. Yeah,
I mean, definitely a complete turnaround from Andrew. You did mention, of course, the Befuddle, or G-Max Befuddle. Could be an interesting option here, but Butterfree not known to appreciate rock-type attacks.
Definitely
in the slightest.
Not even a little bit.
Both these Pokemon, actually, on Andrew's side of the field, could get really, really heavily hit by options from the Durant. So we'll see exactly how they decide to play that one out.
Yeah. We're going to go with that turn 1 Dynamax again. It looks like it is going to be the Butterfree on Andrew's end. We're going to see that G-Max Butterfree. So looking like Andrew might want to go straight for that G-Max Befuddle this time around. Possibly play with some rolls, maybe try to get some sleep, maybe some paralysis to lower their speed. And if the Butterfree is maxing first, it looks like the Durant actually may not be maxing this turn.
No, Durant not doing that at all. Butterfree falling for the taunt from Bingjie's Whimsicott there. He does respond with a Tailwind of his own. And we'll see exactly what the Butterfree went for.
There it is.
G-Max Befuddle coming down, landing on the Whimsicott. Not taking the knockout there, but we'll see exactly what results we get from it. It's Poison on the Whimsicott. And it's going to be asleep on the Durant. I can't believe he just let it do that.
That's crazy. So Andrew clearly making a switch up here and getting exactly what he needed. So the Tailwind from his own Whimsicott, making sure the Butterfree was faster than the Durant on the opposing side of the field. The taunt from Bingjie's Whimsicott, possibly trying to catch a Rage Powder, even something like a Sleep Powder from the Butterfree. But Andrew seeing right past that, goes straight for that Befuddle, gets some really good damage off on the Whimsicott. That Poison's going to help chip it down. I believe in a couple more turns it will get knocked out by that Poison. And most importantly, the Sleep on that Durant makes sure that he will not be attacking that turn.
Yeah, well, we are going to see the Dynamax over on Bingjie's side this turn. Needs to start ramping it up, needs to make sure he can get something out of this Durant. But before he does that, he needs it to wake up.
Yeah.
That's going to be so, so important. Look at it, raging out while it's having a nap. Durant's not messing around right now. Whimsicott on Whimsicott on Andrew's side, fake tearsing the Durant as if it needed a lower special defense stat. Its special defense stat is notoriously terrible.
Yes.
The Bingjie's Whimsicott matching up the Tailwind. The wake up on the Durant immediately. He is launching Max Rockfall, and you've got to think this Butterfree is not long to stick around.
And
it will cling on with the Focus Sash, but most importantly, there is going to be a change in the weather because of Max Rockfall, and that Focus Sash isn't going to be able to prevent it from falling to that kind of, backup attack there.
We'll get one more befuddle off, though, so we're going to see how much damage this does. That -2 special defense coming in really handy there.
Yeah, I mean, the typing there making it real helpful, but he lands another sleep. That is absolutely bonkers.
Oh, man, that's insane. So the befuddle, the Butterfree will go down to the Sandstorm here, but, since Durant already attacked this turn, it is guaranteed to stay asleep this coming turn, so Andrew can bring in, possibly that Charizard, possibly Rhyperior, whatever he might deem necessary at this point. The Whimsicott here on Bingjie's end getting very low and actually getting knocked out by the combination of the sand and poison as well.
Yeah.
So, really interesting turn there. Bingjie made a massive gambit there, Dynamaxing that Durant while it was asleep, hoping it would get that first turn wake up, and it did. But Andrew's saying, no, go back to sleep, Durant.
Yeah, the befuddle there being such a problem. A mix-up from game number 1 from Bingjie. Yeah. He didn't bring the Chandelure in that game. And what I'm curious about here is the ability on Chandelure. I know there's been debate on it. I know people have been talking about, what's better for it and all that. And if this Charizard's going to be launching Heat Waves, like we saw in game number 1, then you're just going to make Chandelure, if it's the Flash Fire variety, a big old problem.
Yeah, no, if that is carrying that Flash Fire, it will be immune to the Heat Wave and actually have its own Fire-type attacks boosted. And especially if Whimsicott opts to Sunny Day here, then you have a very strong Chandelure, so Andrew's got to play carefully around that. But if Andrew does want to knock out this Durant, he might just have to go straight for that Heat Wave and kind of gambit with the Chandelure. Possibly hope that it's not Flash Fire. Possibly hope that he can just weather the storm if it does end up being Flash Fire. Notably, though, the Charizard will still be faster than this Durant, so possibly have something like a Flying type move to knock it out.
Yeah, Charizard firing off Hurricane, connecting with the Chandelure, even in the sand. It's Chandelure clinging on right there, but it's not going to be sticking around too much longer. The follow-up, the follow-up from the Whimsicott there, Moonblast into Chandelure, taking the knockout. Andrew doing such a good job of acknowledging exactly where the threat was. Durant's still asleep, and we're just going to get a round of damage from the Sandstorm.
Yeah, very good turn from Andrew. The Durant did have to stay asleep that turn, so he didn't really need to risk it waking up. And knowing that Chandelure, possibly carrying that Flash Fire could throw a wrench in his plans. So that Hurricane, very strong attack, and not the most accurate. I believe it's 70% chance to hit unless the weather is rainy. So we're taking a bit of a gambit with that Hurricane there. Luckily, it connects with the Whimsicott, or with the Chandelure rather, and the Whimsicott doubling it up with that Moonblast, just in case the Hurricane wasn't enough. Yeah,
and I think probably the exact same turn would be great here for Andrew.
Right.
While they weren't super effective attacks on the Chandelure, both of them would be super effective on this Conkeldurr. So if he can deal with that and Durant, can stay asleep, that's going to be a problem.
The sleep is going to be the big thing here. If this Durant wakes up, it might be the end for Andrew.
Yeah, Whimsicott Sunny Day and getting rid of that Sandstorm, making sure the Charizard does as much damage as possible. The wake up on Durant, launching a max Rockfall immediately at this Charizard. Whimsicott. Whimsicott being brought down. Not quite sure what he was looking for there.
Right.
But, we are going to see the Sandstorm kicking back up. The Durant taking Life Orb damage, and Heat Wave is going to connect, though, with both Pokemon over on Bingjie's side of the field. It's just going to be Conkeldurr versus 3 Pokemon for Andrew. You think that Rockfall probably wanted to go towards the Charizard?
You would definitely think so. Interesting choice to target that Whimsicott, but this explains it. He knew that the Thunder Punch would be able to take out the Charizard. And so probably just opting to cover that Sunny Day option. He really didn't want the Charizard to have that Sunny Day boost. So it's still a smart play. He does lose the Durant, which he didn't necessarily need to if he knocked out the Charizard. But the sand is up now. The Conkeldurr would have taken a lot more damage from that Heat Wave had the sun been up. And he is still able to knock out that Charizard just with the expense of a little bit of damage on Conkeldurr.
Well, the last Pokemon on Andrew's side for this game is going to be the Rhyperior. Of course, you have to be so careful around this. We saw the weakness policy in game number 1, and there's really no way, I think, for Bingjie to safely negotiate this situation. He could try and get rid of the Whimsicott, but he is on a clock. He's going to be taking Sandstorm damage and Burn damage. So only a couple turns, and you can't weather the storm in this situation. Rhyperior protecting right now. Just wants to play it safe. Whimsicott tailwinding again, making sure this Rhyperior gets to play first exactly when he wants it. A Mach Punch coming through on the Whimsicott there. It's just going to be a 1v1. But Andrew's definitely in the driving seat for it.
Yeah, even though Bingjie did Mach Punch the Whimsicott for the knockout, that's actually a very smart play on Andrew's end. He knew that the Whimsicott would be able to Tailwind before the Mach Punch thanks to that Prankster ability. And now the Rhyperior is going to be faster than this Conkeldurr, almost guaranteed. And any sort of ground-type attack it might carry, like Earthquake or High Horsepower, should be able to knock it out. And here comes that Earthquake, which should be this Game 2 for Andrew.
Yep, there it is. There's the confirmation. Game 2 heading to Andrew Burley. Really good play, I think, across the course of that set.
Yeah.
Some really interesting decisions, I think, from Bingjie as well on where he was targeting. I think in Game 3, if he wants to bounce back and get back to where he was in Game 1, got to shake that off and go from there.
Yeah, no, Andrew playing very well. That first turn was a huge turn for him. Unfortunately, both times he got the sleep on the Durant, did wake up that first turn, so a bit unlucky, but he was able to power through it and take that game with some pretty smart play at the very end there. So it's going to be interesting to see how these players decide to go to Game 3. So it seems like Bingjie had this very similar game plan. He did bring that Chandelure instead of the Milotic in Game 2, and didn't really get to see what it did because it just got knocked out immediately, kind of like Andrew's Rhyperior in that first game.
Yeah, I mean, it came in, got hit with Hurricane and Moonblast, and then went down. I think not bringing Milotic is actually pretty interesting here. You know, it does. Milotic does well against Rhyperior, Charizard. It has options.
Yeah.
So I'm curious as to why Bingjie left that on the bench for game number 2, but you know, maybe he was feeling real confident in that Chandelure Flash Fire, switch in, take the Heat Wave play. Right.
So Milotic does have that super effective Muddy Water against both Charizard and Rhyperior, but if the sun is up, the Muddy Water is not going to be doing much damage, and the Charizard has the option for the Solar Beam or the Max Overgrowth if he does Dynamax that Charizard. So yeah, it's kind of a given back and forth with the Milotic there, but Chandelure is immune to those Fire type attacks, so it supports Durant a little bit better in that regard, unless you just take a Hurricane immediately. So
yeah, Hurricane and a Moonblast on the way, first turn of the game. Andrew, you know, obviously Befuddle isn't a guaranteed sleep, but when you hit those sleeps that you need, this game can be really in your favor. Would you lean back into the Gmax Befuddle play?
I don't know if I'd lean into it. It's certainly a great option for Andrew here. We saw how well it worked this time around, but you know, he did get those 2 sleeps on the Durant, and it's a 1 in 3 chance each time. So about a 1 in 9 chance there to get those 2 sleeps in a row. So you know, maybe he's feeling lucky. Maybe he's feeling like that's his best option, and he's going to go for those sleeps again. But you know, I don't think it's a strict necessity. You know, if he went back to his Game 1 plan with the Rhyperior and Bronzong, you know, that seems like it could be pretty strong against Bingjie's team. You just have to worry about that Conkeldurr with those strong fighting type attacks. But obviously, you gotta manage your resources a little bit better. If we have another turn 1, you know, lose the Rhyperior Dynamaxing situation, that's probably not a great thing for him.
Yeah, it's probably not ideal in those regards. We'll see exactly what changes Bingjie makes, if any. Seems pretty confident in the Durant Whimsicott lead, and honestly, as a lead, it is a potent one.
Right.
It's a tough one to navigate around. As if Durant needed any assistance with its speed, you just throw up a Tailwind and you're doing well.
Yeah, especially because Andrew's team doesn't have any Pokemon that use that Intimidate ability, so you can lead Durant really without much fear. But actually, Bingjie switching it up this time, and so is Andrew with this Duraludon.
Yeah, it's going to be a change from both players. Chandelure alongside the Whimsicott for Bingjie, and the Duraludon alongside the Whimsicott for Andrew. This is kind of an interesting one. I mean, Chandelure's got a little bit of an edge, I'd argue, over Duraludon.
Slightly, yeah. You know, they both kind of threaten each other. Duraludon is actually neutral to fire because it does have that secondary dragon typing, but it doesn't have the greatest special defense, doesn't really want to be taking fire type attacks. And Chandelure obviously threatening this Whimsicott with a very strong fire type attack. But Duraludon, I believe, naturally a little bit faster than Chandelure, and if it is carrying something like a Draco Meteor, could threaten a lot of damage.
Yep, well, we'll see exactly how these two match up. I think the Whimsicotts are going to be pretty equal. Starting off with a Dynamax in the heavy ball, it's pretty much the Duraludon there. Confirmation for those of you who are a little unsure, wants to be able to take those hits as well as possible. Duraludon Dynamaxing, something we've seen a good amount, I think, over the course of this weekend.
Yeah, Duraludon, a very, very strong Dynamax Pokemon. It has access to that Draco Meteor, like I said, which is a very strong Dynamax move, and also has, you know, Max Steel Spike as an option, which is a very strong Dynamax move as well. Yep,
well, the Tailwind starting out on Bingjie's side from his Whimsicott, matched immediately by Andrew. No shocks there. That's what most Whimsicotts do when they face each other down on the field. Turn number 1. The Chandelure moving first with the Heat Wave, though. Whimsicott on Andrew's side removed immediately, and Duraludon taking it so well, though.
Yeah, very, very little bit of damage there on the Duraludon. Might be kind of telling of that Assault Vest item. That's a very common item on Duraludon. And Andrew, noting that the Whimsicott didn't have a Focus Sash from Game 1, is able to knock it out with that Max Steel Spike. We did see the Chandelure actually outspeed the Duraludon, so that's good for both players to know. They're both in Tailwinds, so those were equal conditions, and the Chandelure looks like it's trained just a tad faster than this Duraludon.
Yeah, this Duraludon not the quickest and not able to get through that. Durant making its way to the field, and Rhyperior on the other side. Rhyperior's not going to be able to Dynamax in this situation, so this could be an interesting one. I think if Durant Dynamaxes now, this game could get real interesting in just how quickly Bingjie can ramp it up. I think the onus is going to be on Andrew here to switch around and maybe even try and weave in a Protect or a Max Guard to not deal with that damage. There it is, the same ball we've seen in games 1 and 2. Durant with the Dynamax.
There it is, yeah. If this Durant, opts to target this Duraludon, if it is carrying that Assault Vest item, it actually won't have that Max Guard option, so he does have some pretty guaranteed damage in that slot. It's just a matter of if this Durant has an attack that can hit this Duraludon for some big damage. Possibly a Max Quake, but it's hard to tell.
Yep, Rhyperia's going to protect itself this turn. Doesn't want to get caught by a Steel Spike, particularly when it's not Dynamaxed itself. The Max Quake landing from this Durant. It's based off the move Stomping Tantrum, which does...
Oh, it hangs on.
It takes it very, very well.
Yeah.
But the special defenses are going to be boosted over on Bingjie's side, which certainly helps against this Duraludon. There's a little bit of health removed. Heat Wave, obviously landing into the Protect of Rhyperia, and we're going to see how much it does to this Duraludon. It does cling on very comfortably, and a Max Wormwind heading back the other way. That's going to help out with the attack stat on Durant, which might be really, really important. Chandler taking it real well, though.
Yeah, I know. Chandelure does take that Max Wormwind pretty comfortably. The attack stat lowering on the Durant is huge for this Rhyperior because now, thanks to that Solid Rock ability, it most likely will be able to survive a Max Steel Spike. And even though that will raise the defenses of both these Pokemon on the opposing end, something like an Earthquake will easily finish off this Chandelure. The Duraludon surviving is really huge for Andrew because he did get that damage off on Chandelure and get that attack drop on the Durant. Well, here comes that Steel Spike.
Yeah, Durant's going for it anyway. He doesn't care about the attack drop from Max Wormwind. Very easily taken by this Rhyperia after that drop. The defense is heading up. I don't think it's going to save Chandler, but it should be given the opportunity to go for one more attack. That might prove important. Weakness policy, popping up those attack stats, making it a real problem. The Heat Wave from Chandler will miss Rhyperia, though. That is an issue. Rhyperia, he probably needed to fish for a burn there, to be honest.
Now, the Rhyperior most likely would not have been knocked out by that Heat Wave. It does hit the important target in the Duraludon, which will prevent it from attacking this turn.
Yep, Rhyperia will Earthquake, and that's going to pick up the final bit of damage needed on this Chandler, and a good amount on Durant. Durant actually a pretty decent little attack stat there.
Yeah, a decent attack stat, a pretty good defense stat too, and even though Rhyperior is at that +2 attack, the Durant is still Dynamax, so it does have that double HP, and it does have the boost from these Steel Spikes. So it looks like the Charizard's the last option for Andrew here, and even though this Charizard is probably carrying Protect, Max Rockfall does hit through Protect, and it's very strong from this Durant, so
yeah, I think
it might be a little difficult.
I think the kind of back two, as we could call it, from Bingjie is the perfect pairing to get through these two. Charizard will protect, but you've got a Milotic with a spread water move that's going to be super effective on both of these guys. You've got Durant, which can hit with either a Rockfall or, of course, the Steel Spike. Both Pokemon protecting over on Andrew's side of the field, trying to burn out that last turn of Dynamax. Rockfall on the Charizard through a Protect is doing so much damage.
That is insane damage. That Rockfall does about 25% of the damage it normally would through Protect. So you can surmise that would have probably knocked out this Charizard 3 times over with all that damage.
Yeah, I mean, that is... Imagine if he hadn't got the drop off the Max Wormwind as well.
Oh, yeah.
Just think about the problems that would have been causing. There's going to be a little bit of residual damage from the Sandstorm, the Rockfall setup, and I think that's important, actually. Just makes this Charizard even more manageable. On the flip side, though, it does help out the Rhyperia.
It certainly does help out the Rhyperior, but I'm not even sure at the amount of health it's at. A Muddy Water from this Milotic will most likely still be able to take it out. So I think Andrew's out here is hoping for some misses. Hustle does have that nasty miss chance with any of its attacks. So if he can miss something in attacking the Charizard, possibly miss a Muddy Water into the Rhyperior, that might be Andrew's out.
Yeah, we've really got to be landing those. Iron Head will connect, though, from this Durant into the Rhyperior. That will be felled. No big attacks after the weakness policy coming through right now. A little bit of health going down there. Charizard heat waving, so Durant's pretty much done for at this point. Definitely not able to take that attack. But it does mean Milotic is going to be just one-on-one with this Charizard, and if you're Bingjie, you've got to be feeling pretty good about that.
Absolutely, yeah. Even if this Milotic misses the Muddy Water, the Charizard would have been knocked out by the Sandstorm. But Bingjie does connect with this Muddy Water, taking this top 4 set and landing himself a spot in his second regional final.